In this video, we're going to explore how Amanita muscaria can play with our sense of time. Time, as we know it in the Western world, is a very modern concept. The Gregorian calendar is relatively new, and many people feel like their lives are run by it. The alarm goes off in the morning at the same time, Monday to Friday. We're locked into this way of working which is very 9 to 5 orientated, and many who wish to escape this paradigm want to do so because they want to step into a more natural way of relating to time. In the northern hemisphere, we feel the seasons a lot more. The days in winter are longer and darker, and our sense of time when we actually relate it to the seasons and nature is very different to this framework that has been placed over the top of us by Western society. In nature, everything blossoms and blooms in perfect time. The ancients knew how to measure time in a very different way and had a completely different sense and connection to time than we do. And there are many monuments around the world that help us to understand time in a very different way. The ancients were adept travellers into the NO Time through various different practices, meditations, work with different plant medicines. They were able to get an overview of time which is just so infinitely different to ours. And the Mayans were real masters who saw vastly into the future, into epochs of time that we barely consider. And when they were making decisions, for example, they would think about the next 7 generations ahead of them and how the decisions that they were making in that particular moment in time were going to affect those down the line. So they were indeed real time travellers. The ancients saw reality as being comprised of 2 things: time and space. Time being the masculine construct, which is this ever expanding force, and space being the container that holds it within. The term for those are Pachatata and Pachamama. Within the magical mushroom Amanita muscaria, you have 2 constituents which act very differently. You have ibotenic acid, which actually gives the impression that it's speeding things up, and you have the muscimol, which appears to be slowing things right down. It's very obvious when you look at Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland that he was using Amanita muscaria. And one of the things that Alice, the protagonist, the one who's on a quest, is asked to do is to follow the white rabbit down the rabbit hole. And to me, the rabbit hole, it represents like a black hole, similarly, where space and time do not exist. And this hole, it's like consciousness itself, because science very much treats consciousness as something that arises from the fundamentals of space and time, and assumes that consciousness is a result of evolution, rather than understanding that consciousness is the ultimate reality of the universe. Amanita helps to unlock us from the mind, which is this finite part which is allowing us to have this localized experience of infinite consciousness, which is filtered through our own perspective. And perhaps this is why Amanita helps us to think in non-linear ways and really opens us to the infinite field of consciousness, where we can download all sorts of incredible answers, solutions, and inspiration. The ancients tell us that Maya is the suffering that is brought about from living from this limited, self-centered perspective, And it's my belief that Amanita really helps us to step out of that framework. As a society, we are becoming more disconnected and more focused on the individual than ever before. And it seems to me that Amanita is here just in time to try to, ironically in time, bring us back into the no time where we can remember that all is connected.